And since that incident had happened, um, it was covered in the news. And every single time they would cover it in the news, they would write about it as victim was attacked by two men, blah, blah, blah. And every time I saw that word victim, it would really, really bother me. So I decided to come out of the shadows. And for the first time in my life, I posted on social media and I wrote about what happened. And I wrote about the fact that I don't see myself as a victim. I'm a victor because I'm alive. I retrieved all my stuff and I get to tell the tale. Hey, it's Vicky. Welcome back to the Infinite and Abundant podcast, where I take you on a journey to rediscovering just how infinitely powerful and abundant you truly are. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is that defining moments don't define you. So, here's what you can expect in our conversation today. So, I mentioned in my very first episode that I'm going to tell you about an incident that happened to me. And it was absolutely a defining moment, but it doesn't define me. And I will share with you about what happened, but more importantly, the lessons that I took away from that experience and how that has shaped and changed who I am being and who I am evolving into every single day. So before we jump in, I'm going to share with you about my tea of the day. So it has been absolutely freezing here in New Jersey, and it seems like everyone is getting sick around me. So today I have quite a treat. So I really love tea sets. So I have this beautiful little tea set, and if you can't see it on, if you're listening to it, so I have this white with golden accents, little teapot. Oh my God, I've always loved teapots ever since I was a little girl. And I'm drinking a hibiscus cherry berry blend. So, what does that have? It has hibiscus, and hibiscus is really, really good for you. It is full of vitamin C and antioxidants. It also has cherries. So, cherries is also full of antioxidants. And it has berries in it, like elderberry, and elderberry is really good as an immune boosting berry. So, to make a long story short, I'm drinking this today, and oh my God, when I smell it, it smells both fruity from the berries and the hibiscus flower, but it also has that little tartness to it, which I really like. So from the cherries, so it's absolutely delicious. But in all honesty, I'm drinking it as preventative care because everyone is sick. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to start pumping myself up with vitamin C, with antioxidants, just so that I just completely prevent myself from getting sick because I can't afford to get sick right now. Life is way too hectic and way too busy. So that is my blend, and I will have a link in the show notes to this blend if you're interested in trying. It's absolutely delicious and definitely a top 5 seller on the market. All right, so I'm going to be sipping my tea. And I'm going to be spilling the tea today. Um, I don't like to talk about this very much, but I'm going to open up about the incident. And the reason being is because I think that there are some beautiful lessons that I'm taking away as part of them. And I know that your time is so precious, and I really don't take you for granted. So let me tell you the 5 lessons that I've learned, and then I'll rewind back and I'll tell you the story and how these lessons have been coming through my experiences. All right. So here are the 5 lessons that I'm going to talk about today. Lesson number 1, defining moments do not define you. You are so much bigger than an incident. And you're so much bigger than a circumstance or your childhood. And I'm going to open up very vulnerably about that. Lesson number 2, you can do things scared. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So do them and do them scared. We're all scared on some level. Lesson number 3, there's always a new day. There's always a new moment. As long as you're breathing, as long as you're alive, the sun is going to come out tomorrow and it's going to be a new day. And how are you going to choose to live that day? Lesson number 4, even what we perceive as negative events or negative circumstances in our lives, we can have the choice to perceive them differently. And the good news is that we are empowered in how we choose to perceive them. And lesson number 5, let go. Let go and allow yourself to free fall, because in that free fall, that's where you're going to find your freedom. So those are my 5 lessons. Now let's rewind back and let me tell you what happened. On the night of December 8th in 2022, I was working in New York City and I took the train back home. And on the way home, I thought, hey, why don't I go and get some fresh air? Because I had had a really hectic day in the office and I just needed to reset my energy before I came home. So I go for a walk in a park, and I live in a really safe neighborhood. And while I'm walking, it's 7 o'clock in the evening in the park. 2 young men jump right behind me. One grabs me by my back. The other one grabs my purse. And as one of them is ripping the purse off of me and grabbing the phone out of my hand, the person who was holding me takes me and shoves me into the ground. And when they shoved me into the ground, my teeth broke, I was bleeding. But what they didn't realize is that I was a badass and that I was a runner and that I, in my adrenaline rush, would jump up and start chasing after the perpetrators, limping but running, with broken teeth and hurting and aching body all over the place. I start chasing them and I start screaming at them, "You took my stuff." And as I proceeded to chase them out of the park, there was an off-duty policeman standing outside. And he saw me bleeding and chasing after these 2 young men. And he said, what's going on? And I told them, hey, we need to go catch them because they took my stuff. And the guy calmed me down, sat me down, called in the cops, and they surrounded the whole area. They caught the men and they retrieved my stuff. So, but I was on the heels, like I was going to catch them. I have no idea what I was thinking, because a lot of people have said to me, Vicky, but they could have had a gun, they could have had a knife. What are you thinking chasing out of them? But you know, when you have that adrenaline rush, nothing can stop you. So the man sits me down, and as I'm sitting there, the paramedics arrive and they suggest that I go to the emergency room because it would be good for me to get checked out. I didn't want to go to the emergency room because in my mind I was fine. And finally, I agreed to go. And when I got to the emergency room, that's when all the news started to arrive, right? So they started telling me that they had found blood in my brain and they didn't know what that meant. They told me that I might need reconstructive surgery on my face. I still have a scar here, but I wear it with pride. Um, and the circumstance just wasn't looking very good. I didn't know if I would be able to run again. I didn't know if I would need reconstructive surgery. I didn't know if I had lost all my front teeth on the top and on the bottom. I didn't know what were the ramifications of having blood in my brain. And as I was lying in the emergency room, I remember thinking to myself that I'm not a victim and that I get to choose how I react and respond to the circumstance. And so I just went into a full-blown energy of gratitude. What was I grateful for? I was grateful for being alive. I was grateful that I was in a hospital with the absolute best doctors in the world. I was grateful for the CAT scan that caught the blood in the brain, and that if anything, they would find a way and a path to heal me. I was grateful that with surgery, I can reconstruct and rebuild myself back to normal. I was grateful. I was grateful to just be there. And then I chose to also release the anger, the resentment, the hatred that I was feeling in my heart for what had happened. And I told myself, I'm going to forgive the perpetrators in my soul, in my energy. And I'm not going to forgive them because what they had done was okay, because it wasn't okay. But I'm going to forgive them because I don't want to live with that. And again, I get to choose to forgive them. And for that, I was grateful. And since that incident had happened, um, it was covered in the news. And every single time they would cover it in the news, they would write about it as victim was attacked by two men, blah, blah, blah. And every time I saw that word victim, it would really, really bother me. So I decided to come out of the shadows. And for the first time in my life, I posted on social media. And I wrote about what happened. And I wrote about the fact that I don't see myself as a victim. I'm a victor because I'm alive. I retrieved all my stuff and I get to tell the tale. But all jokes aside, I wrote about how grateful I felt, all the gratitude I felt in my soul, the forgiveness, and how I chose to see the circumstance. And out of that, thousands of people started writing me and telling me how I've been inspiring them and how my story is getting sent around colleges and friends and small children are talking about this at home. And the interesting thing is, everyone started pouring their love and support towards me. And with their emails and notes of love and support, they also started telling me that I need to get out there, that I need to start telling people about the way that I'm choosing to react and respond to the circumstance. So, this is how I am here today. If it hadn't been for that incident, I would have never thought that I had a voice or that I had anything to say. And the first time that I posted on social media, I was shaking. The first time I ever recorded my videos, I was shaking, but I kept going because I knew that I was doing it for a higher purpose. I was doing it because if I could help one more person who has been through stuff or is going through stuff view their circumstance differently, then it's worth it. And out of that, I met lots of people, a woman who had experienced rape on a date, and we were taking a self-defense course together. And I was able to share with her about the path to forgiveness, the path to releasing it, and the path to moving on. And so this is a very personal moment in my life. It was a defining moment in my life. But you know what? It doesn't define me. Because what I've come to know is that we are so much bigger and so much more powerful than we can ever imagine. The thing is, there is a much bigger you behind the persona of you. There is the big S, the big self, the spiritual you, the energy you that is indestructible. And our inner power and inner strength comes from that. And if you've been through stuff during your childhood, which I have been, and I will open up about that too. But if you have been through trauma, through difficult circumstances, through abuse, the woman that I met who was raped on her date, whatever those awful, awful, awful things that no one should ever have to experience, know that there is a path forward. And know that you, the you behind all of these circumstances, is so much bigger than that moment, than that circumstance. They are defining moments. Of course they are. But they do not define you because you have a choice. You get to choose how you respond. You get to choose how you perceive the circumstance, and you get to choose how you want to live your life past it. So after I started posting on social media, I started to also look into homeopathic and holistic, a holistic way to healing. You see, I was broken inside and out. For a while, I couldn't sleep. Every time I would go to sleep, I would feel my perpetrator's hands on my back. And I would wake up in fear. Or as I would be falling asleep, I would feel their hands on me. I would be so scared walking in the dark every time it would get dark. I would get so scared. I'd start shaking inside. And I would have to tell myself, you're safe, you're safe, you're safe. And there's this technique, it's called the heart hold. And for those of you who can't see, what you do is you put one hand on your belly and the other hand on your heart. And that gives you a feeling of safety. And so in the moments when you don't feel safe, just do the heart hold. So one hand on your chest, one hand on your heart, and tell yourself, I'm safe. I'm safe. Release your shoulders, relax your shoulders, focus on the jaw because we tend to carry a lot of our stress and fear and anxiety in our jaw and our shoulders and our back. That's where I usually feel it. And just breathe and breathe out and tell yourself, remind yourself that you're safe. And so I was having to do all of that. And during that search for natural ways to feel better, I discovered loose leaf tea. I discovered that peppermint and chamomile are natural ways to help you fall asleep. I discovered that hibiscus is really, really good for immunity and detox. Nettle is really good for your skin. And so this is how I discovered loose leaf tea. And this is the reason that I launched Still Essence Tea Company. It's because I was looking for a path towards natural healing and I didn't want to rely on medicine that would make me dependent on the tea. And so every single step I would take in my journey after that incident, after that day, I would be taking it scared. I would be taking it not knowing where am I going? What am I doing? And I call it this feeling of free falling, like this not knowingness. But in that not knowingness, that's where you find the magic, but also your freedom. Because when you allow yourself to release control, that is when you discover the freedom within, because there's nothing left that you're grasping onto. And when you're not grasping, when you're not in control, because control is the energy of fear, when you're no longer in that energy of fear, that's where the true freedom comes in. And when you're in true freedom, you're in your core energy. And when you're in your core energy, that's when you realize just how infinite you are and how abundant you are. Because you're no longer operating from a place of fear. You're operating from a place of abundance. And so through that, walking blindly, free falling, launching a company I had very little knowledge about the industry, having to learn who were the distributors, how do you even go about, sourcing the products, how do you go even about creating the blends that you want to create, how do you even go about selling these products. Every single step I have been taking it blindly and I've been taking it scared. But you know what? I've been taking it. And so no matter what it is that you're coming out of, a circumstance or something that you're stepping into where you don't know what that next right step is, here's what I would tell you. Take action. Take imperfect action, make mistakes, fail. That's okay. But just take action. Take imperfect action and just do it scared because it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. It's about who you get to become as part of the experience of being here. It's who you get to become as part of the journey that you're on. And it's marvelous and it's a privilege. Making mistakes is a privilege because we get to course correct. There's no such thing as a mistake. It's just a lesson, it's just a learning. And here's the other thing that I learned. You see, after I came home from the hospital, tears, broken, ashamed. I was so embarrassed for people to see all of my scars. What I realized is that the sun was going to set that night and the sun was going to come out the next morning. And every day the sun would set and every day the sun would rise. So no matter what is happening in your life, know that the sun is going to set and the sun is going to rise and it's going to be a new day. It's going to be a new dawn. And it's like Bashar says, every moment you are a new you. And there's a kid who was asked the question, how do you know that something is alive? And he answered, because it changes. And we are constantly changing and evolving, whether we want to or not. So can we control some of the circumstances that happen to us in life? No. But they force us to change. And we can resist the change or we can embrace the change. And so I would encourage you to embrace the change and know that the change is part of being alive. And you know, one of the things that I also learned out of this experience is that because of the experience, some really marvelous things have happened. So I launched my loose leaf tea company. I have learned how to build an email list. I've learned how to build marketing campaigns. I've learned how to build a community. I've now launched a podcast. I'm having conversations. I'm meeting customers. I'm meeting beautiful and gorgeous people. I formed a mastermind. I'm connecting so much more deeply with people in my life, at work, friends. I've created new friendships. And so the lesson in all of this is sometimes the things that we perceive as negative, we get to choose how we perceive those circumstances. And maybe instead of seeing them as negative, seeing the good and the beauty and the positive that comes out of it. If that incident hadn't happened, I don't know if I would have launched this loose leaf tea business. I don't know if I would have had such a deep spiritual awakening. I don't know if I would have gone on this journey to rediscover me and this journey back to me, to discovering the big S, the big me, the true me. I don't know if any of those things would happen. And as I pour myself my delightful cup of tea of this cherry hibiscus berry blend, mm, it's so delicious. This is what I would tell you. Life is delicious. Even when our defining moments aren't what we would want them to be, there's freedom on the other side. There's free falling on the other side. There are journeys, adventures, new people, new experiences on the other side. So, my fifth and final lesson to you would be let go, let it go, forgive the past, forgive it not because it's okay, not because you condone it, but forgive because you do not want to live with that burden, that energy in your body, in your being. Let go and allow yourself to free fall into a whole new you, living a whole new life, living with ultimate freedom. That to me is the epitome of being infinite and the epitome of being abundant. When you're no longer living in fear and you allow yourself to free fall. So I don't know who needed to hear this today. I don't know if this helps you in any way, but I hope that it does. Because I want you to always remember to be infinite, to be abundant, because you are infinitely abundant. So that is the story. That's what happened to me. And those were my lessons. So let me recap the lessons again. So, one, defining moments don't define you. You are a much bigger you. And remember that. Two, do things scared. We're all scared. We're all not knowing what we're doing. None of us knows what we're doing. But you know, the difference is that some of us choose to take action and some of us don't. So take action towards what you want to experience in this life and allow the answers to come to you. Do it scared. Do it imperfectly. Just do it. It's not about the destination. It's the journey of who you get to become. Three, the sun will always set and the sun will always rise as long as you're breathing and you're alive. Remember that. Every moment, every day, you get to be a new you. Change, it's constant. It just is. So embrace it rather than resisting it. Four, even negative events can have positive outcomes. It's all about the perspective that you give to these events and to these circumstances. Because of this so-called perceived negative event, I get to now have the privilege of impacting thousands and millions of lives. And that's priceless. And again, you get to choose how you perceive a circumstance. And finally, let go. Let go and allow yourself to free fall into not knowing, free fall into a whole new you, into living a whole new life, which is the ultimate freedom. Cheers. Here's to you and me and all of us free falling. And I'm so excited to tell you that I've started having tea tastings. So if you are part of a team and you want to do tea tastings and you want to combine that with fun and learning about the health benefits of tea, and you combine that with my leadership lessons, so that we could both learn but also have fun and build a sense of community on your team, reach out, go to my website, www.stillessence.com. Go to tea tastings and check out my offerings. I am taking one tea tasting a week right now. So I have availability for one tea tasting a week. So if this is something that's of interest to you, I would be delighted to come and to join your team and to get to know you and to educate you. Or if you just want to have the tea and then connect on your own, that's also available as a package. So connect with me and share with me. Tell me if my story is in any way helping you as you face your stories and your circumstances. I would love to hear from you. Please share. Please comment, and it would mean the world to me if you would tell your friends, family, colleagues to also subscribe to my podcast. Thank you. I so appreciate your time. I so appreciate your attention. I don't take your time or attention for granted. And I'm so grateful for you being here. And see you in the next episode. Have an amazing day.